and then they were choosing verses like this is the seventh day and so on and so forth. Would you be able to explain that, why that's either erroneous or what?
Yeah. It's basically it's a Seventh Adventist teaching, and I think your question is about to be interrupted. Just to let you know. Oh, thank you. I don't have space for it in my bag. I'm sorry. So could you do me a favour until I've got a time to collect it from you? Thank you. So it's a Seventh Adventist day teaching. In the Old Testament, it's very clear that you've got the Sabbath, and the Sabbath is on the seventh day, and that is the day of rest. And Seventh-day Adventists have taken this teaching and built an idea upon it that actually contradicts the teachings of Paul. So let me just go to Romans. Bear with us. Right. So in Romans chapter 14 it says this. It says, "Who are you to judge the servant of another? To his own master he stands or falls, and he will stand for the Lord or be able to make him stand. One person regards one day above another, another regards every day alike. Each person must be fully convinced in his own mind. He who observes the day observes it for the Lord, and he who eats does so for the Lord, for he gives thanks to God, and he who eats not for the Lord, he does not eat and gives thanks to God." This is called the doctrine of the freedom of the gospel. And that means that every Christian, in matters of food and special days of obligation, is completely free to either eat or not eat, to either celebrate or not celebrate any particular day or any particular food. This is what Paul is teaching. And that means that when Seventh-day Adventists say that every Christian is committing a sin who honors the Sunday as a Sabbath, they are in error. But it's not an error that means they're not a Christian, it just means that they're a Christian with an error. The reality is Christians are free. And in the early church, when the Gentile church that had no Jewish culture became the dominant church, it started to observe the day of the resurrection like a Sabbath. And so the Sunday became a Sabbath, and that has passed into our culture, and Gentile Christians think of the Sunday as a Sabbath. And there's no problem with that if you want to, but you don't have to. It's one of the things that the Reformation rediscovered, is the idea that you don't have to keep the Sunday as a Sabbath. But I want to give you some good reasons why you should keep the Sunday as a Sabbath. Firstly, all human beings need to rest. It's important that we rest. We shouldn't be slaves to market economies, and we shouldn't be slaves to our jobs. And keeping a Sabbath is one of the demonstrations that you are not a people under bondage. And in Scripture, it is said that where the Spirit is, there is freedom, and that we are not a people born to bondage. And the Sabbath and keeping a Sabbath is one of the ways of demonstrating that we are free, because we lay down on the Sabbath all other concerns except the concern for God, showing that we are only bonded to God in covenant, and we are not bonded to any false god like money. Secondly, there is a social good for keeping a Sabbath. If we in this country have one day where everybody lays down their work, then that is one day you can go and see your friends, you can go and see your family, and we can use that day to renew the bonds of human fellowship. We can use that day as a way of building up community and social cohesion and strengthening our families and our friendships. And so it makes sense as a social good to give everybody the same day off, ladies and gentlemen. And because this is a Christian country, and because the tradition of the church has been Sunday, I think that Sunday, as a way of honouring our past and the traditions of the church, should be the day. But it doesn't have to be Sunday. It could be Saturday. And there is a biblical argument for making it a Saturday. And here's the biblical argument. Firstly, clearly, the Seventh-Day Adventists are a people of weak conscience. They are scandalized by the idea of a Sunday Sabbath. But if you agree with my arguments, you would not be scandalized by a Saturday Sabbath. Secondly, a Saturday Sabbath more directly emulates the patterns of the Old Covenant, though we are not obliged to keep the idea of the Saturday Sabbath. And so you could have Saturday as a Sabbath and still celebrate the resurrection on a Sunday. These two things are not opposed to one another. Any questions on the Sabbath or what I've said about the Sabbath? Going once? Going twice? Gone. There is no reason, good point. There is no reason why we couldn't have two Sabbaths. Because remember, in the freedom of the gospel, you are free to honour any day unto the Lord. And so there is nothing to stop us having Saturday and Sunday as a Sabbath. So why not? Why not do both? And literally, that's what we're doing anyway. Saturdays and Sundays are days off. So enjoy them as Sabbaths. Give them to the Lord, and let's put down servile work. This freedom of the gospel is why America has Thanksgiving Day. Because the Puritans set aside a particular day to give thanks to the Lord that they survived the winter. I don't understand how it ends up being in autumn today, but there you go. Maybe there's something about the history I don't understand. But that's why America celebrates Thanksgiving Day, because America has been influenced, even though it is a secular republic, it has been influenced by its Christian founding fathers. That is why Christians celebrate Easter Sunday and Christmas Day and Ash Wednesday, because the church in the past set aside certain days to honor certain truths of the Christian faith. They were not borrowing from paganism. That is the spurious lies of the ignorant. And it is completely legitimate for Christians to do so. Any other questions on the question of the Sabbath? Going once? Going twice? Going three times? Any other questions on the Sabbath or something else?
Oh, no, on the Sabbath.
Go on.
What does it mean in Hebrew, the word Sabbath?
Just means seven. Seventh day.
So the last day of the week.
Last day of the week. Any other questions on any topic about or from Christianity? Go on.
Explain so Matthew 12:5 and the link between Hosea 11:1. No, 11:1.
Right, you're going to have to get Hosea 11:1. Right, Matthew 12:5 says this. Or have you not read in the law? Sorry, have you not? My apologies. Or have you not read in the law that on the Sabbath the priests in the temple break the Sabbath and are innocent?
5:12.
5:12. Sorry, Matthew 5:12.
That's, I believe.
Right, okay. Matthew 5:12. Matthew 5:12, rejoice and be glad, for your reward in heaven is great. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Matthew 5, and you're going to read Hosea.
So again, my approach is all over the place. Hosea 11:1, Matthew 2:15.
Okay, if you're wrong the third time, you'll have to go away and get your verses. Last attempt. Matthew 2 what?
2:15, and the link will be with Hosea 11.
Matthew 2:15. Matthew 2:15. He remained there until the death of Herod. This was to fulfill what had been spoken by the Lord through the prophet, out of Egypt I called my son. Go read Hosea.
So Hosea 11 will say, when Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son. But every time he went astray, he sacrificed to the Baals.
Right. So the link between the Hosea reference and the Matthew reference is that Jesus, as the perfect Israelite, his life exemplified the meta story of what Israel should have been. Israel was the son that was called out of Egypt to be a holy nation, a royal priesthood, devoted to the Lord and high and holy God, and to be holy. And Israel failed to do that, as Hosea says, fell into sin again and again and again. But when Matthew points out that Jesus Christ was called out of Egypt, it is showing that Jesus is the perfect Israelite, was called out of Egypt like the Israelites, but unlike the Israelites who consistently worship the Baals, the false gods of the Canaanites and others. Jesus Christ himself was faithful to the one true God without ever falling into idolatry. And that was the reference that Matthew is making. He is showing that paradigmatically Jesus is living the life that Israel was called to live, showing that he was the perfect man. Any questions on that point?